Welcome to Star Wars Newsnet Live. I am your host, Paul Herman, and with me is Brian the Beard Miller and Tyler the Kid. I have no idea what else to call him anymore. I'll figure out a nickname eventually, I promise. But anyway, we are here to talk about Ahsoka. I said almost did it. I almost did it. I did it again. The Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord. So I'm not alone, obviously. We're going to introduce my peeps with me. We got Brian and Tyler. How are we doing tonight, gentlemen?
What's going on?
We are locked and loaded, ready to go.
Yes, we are. So we had the season finale of Ahsoka, the Jedi, the Witch, the Wardrobe again. God dang it, Warlord, whatever you want to call
Got
it.
Narnia on the mind.
Dude, what do you expect when Filoni does this to me? Whatever. So before I get into anything, I want people in the chat. If you're joining us in the live chat, super appreciate it. If you're hearing this not live, leave a comment. I want to know what you think of Ahsoka this season finale. This is a season finale, not the season. That's a different episode. But for the season finale, what is it out of 10? All right, Pitchfork rules. Give me a decimal point. Give me whatever. It can be an 8.3, 6.9. 2.8, I don't know, whatever the hell you want to do. But I want to know what you guys think. Give us here in the live chat or comment, hit like video, all that jazz. So, I want to touch on the last episode real quick. I wasn't here last week. I wasn't on for the Saga Continues either. I had some brutal stuff happen to me last week. It was brutal. Better now, but never always easy to do hard things. Anyway, not get too depressing. Last episode was probably my least favorite of the entire season. And but at the same time, I still really enjoyed it. And I'll kind of get more into that with the season finale here in a second. But it wasn't as strong as the other episodes. And I felt it was a little meandering, if you will. So again, that's the last episode. Was it Madness and Dreams and Madness, whatever. So again, not a bad episode. Just wasn't the best, I think, of the entire series. Now, fast forward to a couple days ago, we've got this season finale, and it definitely feels like it's been met with hit and miss a little bit with fans online, at least for what I can tell.
Shocking.
Yeah, well, right. But I mean, I think Ahsoka's been predominantly praised for the most part. It's been mostly liked, I would say. Tyler, give me your ranking out of 10. I'll get you afterwards, and we'll start breaking this down one by one. But what would you give this finale out of 10 to kind of tease us where we're going?
I gave it like an 8, which I think puts it around 3 or 4. Maybe I think it's like 4-ish in my episode rankings for the season, kind of right in the middle. Okay. There were plenty of highs for me. I just didn't think that they reached quite the level I wanted them to, and we'll get into the specific nuts and bolts of it. My overall issue is I think that some of the big reveals and some of the big punches that happened just came at the right time. It felt like when a boxer is kind of going for the knockout punch a little bit too soon, maybe he should have, set him up a little bit more and then went for it. That's kind of how I felt. And then it kind of felt a little smushed together at times at the end, which is fine. It was not a bad episode by any means. I really enjoyed it. I had a great time, but it wasn't like, finale, best episode of the season. Yeah. Kind of put it like 3 or 4 of my rankings for the season as a whole.
Right on. Brian, what is your ranking out of 10 on this episode specifically?
I agree with Tyler, man. It's probably my third favorite in the series. And I'm going to give it just this one episode. I'll give it what did you say, Tyler? What did you say?
8.
You 8? I'm going to give it a 7.5.
Right.
I don't get me wrong. I still really enjoyed the episode. I thought it was a good episode, but it wasn't the best episode in my opinion.
Agreed.
I had a lot of fun with it. There were a couple of jaw-dropping moments in it that we'll talk about here in a little bit that I was just freaking out over.
Yes, we'll talk about those.
But I don't think that it was enough to get the episode up over that, that second place or first place slot for the series for me.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you right now. And again, if you haven't already, hit the like button, please. Get more people involved, and I want to hear people's opinions. Give me your ranking of Ahsoka season finale, the Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord. I did it this time, Tyler. I did it. For me, I'm going to give this episode probably a 7 out of 10. I think that's a fair thing. I liked it better the second time. It was it felt disjointed like the last episode, Dreams of Madness, which I thought it felt like it just kind of not spinning its wheels, but it just felt kind of clunky at times. And I love Rick Fumiyama. I love a lot of his Mando episodes. I do think his episodes weren't as good in the third season as compared to the first and second seasons. And this episode in particular, I liked it much better the second time. But I people in the chat call me out if I'm just being, whatever. And I feel bad saying this. I love Rick. I think Rick is awesome. He wrote maybe I think one of the best Star Wars things ever in that episode with oh my gosh, the guy from the season 1, the comedian, forgot his name. Oh my god, Bill Burr's character.
Yeah,
but
Mayfeld.
The thing, yeah, thank you. I'm so bad with names. I love that episode. And it's just weird to me because this episode in particular, and again, people in the chat, call me out here in the comments, whatever. Some of the fight scenes just felt weird to me. And it felt weird to me because of like maybe some of the wide shots they chose, some of the angles they just decided to have, some of the sword fighting and some of the just, whatever. Just in general, some of the shot placement, and I'm not sure if it's on him, the DP, I have no idea. But I will say it was distracting at times. Some of the way they decided to direct the way that the episode was going to either be shot or paced or whatnot. It just, I don't know. The pacing felt weird a little bit at times. And it was a little like, I was a little taken aback a little bit. Because it felt like a lot like that in the last episode. This episode was a little bit better, but still had those issues. And it was the finale, and I was a little disappointed in that. But when I watched it the second time, I felt better about it. But people in the chat, people who are watching later on, comment here. Guys, want to get your take on this. Did some of the fight scenes seem weird to you? Like, do you guys understand what I'm saying? Because just like some of the wide shots with Ahsoka and Ezra and everything, and I think I saved one of them here. Like some of these shots here, I thought it looked weird to me. Like this looked weird to me the way it was shot. Like I don't know why. It looked very odd to me. Like almost felt like it was TV. Didn't feel like a real epic thing.
It is TV.
I realize that, but I think
did Paul get an exclusive theater screening?
I guess he did, man.
I must have. Now hold on. I say this because this show, to be fair, has not always looked like TV. And that's the whole thing about it. It just felt very weird. It feels like it scaled it back for the TV, like for this episode. It almost felt like to me, like from a production standpoint. Some of this, not all of it, because they have the shots of the Star Destroyer coming out and everything. That was pretty cool. But this is their fight scenes in this little thing here, and like the way they're always shot, the three of them. It just looked odd to me. Am I alone? Am I crazy on this? Tell me at the chat. Brian, I'll throw it to you first. Am I crazy on this?
I didn't even notice it, to be honest. Okay. I was so caught up in what was happening. And the thing I was losing my mind over, and because this shot you're talking about was from one of those moments where I was freaking out, where I've been waiting to see some real Dathomirian magic. That's what I was waiting to see. And we finally got it in this scene. So I think I was more caught up in what was actually happening with the Dathomirian magic and what was going on with the troopers. And I hesitate to call them zombies, but the reanimated, the undead, I guess you could say. The camera shots didn't bother me at all. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Tyler, am I crazy? Do you understand what I'm trying to say, sir? Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know.
So I think that the volume did not, like you could kind of notice it more in this episode than we had in recent. It may have been one of the worst volume episodes just from that. It didn't.
That's a good point. Yeah.
It wasn't something that I felt was this glaring thing that took me away. In fact, most of the action and the duels and things like that was the high points of the episode for me. Really enjoyed it. I kind of, with Horizon Brave's comment from a little bit ago, with some of the some of the story choices. That's kind of where I was a bit curious on some of the decisions that were made. I push back on some of what he said in the chat, but because I have other gripes, I think, than he does. But at the same time, I didn't have any issues with how it was shot there. And I think as an audience, we've become so trained to be able to pick out those volume shots because we've seen so much of it with all the Star Wars stuff and some of the Marvel stuff now that it's almost lost the magic that it had when it first came out. It's like, wow, they have this technology that helps them create all these shows. And I think this episode was one where it was like, oh, yep, I can see that this time.
Yeah. I'm with you on that one. You know, for me, if here's the thing. I am my partner in the saga continues brought up a great point. He said that, you know, some of the planet Peridia, like the whole scale of the show, right? Like it's all filmed with a very dark kind of, or not dark, but a very grayish kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if that kind of it just felt kind of like bland at times because of the landscapes they chose.
Mm-hmm.
I like Peridia. Like I think when they first come in, and it's got almost like a brownish gray, like when they first come in, and then they have this more of a gray tone for the rest of the episodes, and it just gets kind of. I think the atmosphere just feels a little less. Like I go back to the Jedi episode from the Mandalorian season 2 that Dave Filoni directed, and it's such a dynamic looking episode because of all the fog and the smoke and whatnot. It's really cool. And my friend said like it'd be cooler if some of those fight scenes they had were maybe at night, and it would be more of a darker atmosphere. And I was like, yeah, that's a good point. Like I think that would have been more dynamic. I think that's what I'm trying to say. The fight scenes.
I want to make a point on that because I think that's a problem Star Wars has had at times, and you see Peridia is so interesting for us to launch into. But when you have this kind of barren wasteland, which goes with the vibe of what's happening with the ancient kingdoms and stuff, but at the same time, I think most people think of Star Wars and the Star Wars planets. They instantly go to something that just immediately grabs your attention. Like when you never forget the Dune Sea, you know, and Tatooine, you never forget Coruscant the first time you see it. Even like the Exegol with the lightning strikes, the storm. Like you think of like any big planet in Star Wars, and here we have the first big planet from this big new galaxy we're exploring. And I am looking forward, hopefully in future things, to see more of the landscape where Balin ends up at the end with the mountains. And it looks like that offers a little bit more room for some fun in terms of landscape. But yeah, I would agree that it just gets a little bit stale after a while when we see the same kind of barren wasteland planet over and over.
Yeah, I think, and before I throw it to you, Brian, and we can move on a little bit more, I think that might be it where some of the I think I figured it out kind of midstream here, is that it just felt very much like it wasn't as dynamic and interesting to look at as exciting as it was when we first get there. And so as we stay there, it's like, cool, it's a field with some rocks, you know, but let's bring something interesting to make it more dynamic. And I think the fight scenes and everything don't look as dynamic because of the volume and because of the atmosphere. It's just not as interesting as I think that I've expected them to do. They've done a great job of that, I think, honestly, in The Mandalorian season 1 and 2, but Book of Boba Fett. I think Book of Boba Fett has some good atmosphere. It doesn't always. I think some of the sets don't always look great, but like a lot of the best parts of those episodes are it's a lot more atmospheric. I'd say, a lot of times. But anyway, let's kind of get into this with the beginning here. So we get kind of a weird ending of the last episode, in my opinion, and we get this whole fight scene with Thrawn's like, we got to like get rid of these people, and it's like, yeah, we gotta we gotta figure this out, and they're getting chased, and whatever. I won't lie, I kept expecting like Shin and Balin to show up, and I'm just gonna say it. We'll just kind of bring it up here, because we'll wait. We'll save the end stuff for end, right? But I gotta say, I was a little disappointed that Shin and Balin just kind of weren't involved. It felt very anticlimactic that way. Anyone want to add to that?
Go for it, Brian.
I didn't think it was that big of a deal, honestly. Because, I mean, in the last episode, Balin already said, we're on a different path. I'm on a different path than you. And so he was off doing his own thing. We kind of saw that coming from the get-go. I think once he got to the planet and, kind of established that they were there, he was off on his own anyway. He didn't care what Thrawn was doing. Because he said at the beginning of one of the first 2 episodes, when Shin was asking him, when we get there, what's in it for us? And he said, for some war, for us, power. That's what I'm after. I don't care about what's going on here. I want to go there and figure out what's going on. And he's on a quest. He doesn't care what's going on there. So to me, it made more sense that he kind of went off and did his own thing. I didn't even realize that they weren't there, to be honest, until the very end of the episode. And then it was like, oh yeah, I forgot that they were off doing their own things too. And so it didn't bother me at all. Going back real quick to what you were talking about with the planet and stuff. Yeah, sure. Being real quick. I feel like something like that is done on purpose. It's not every planet in Star Wars is going to be interesting or good to look at or nice to look at or mesh necessarily with what's going on. It's an entirely different galaxy. It's something different than we've ever seen before. And it also brings to light like what Thrawn and Ezra were dealing with the 9 years that they were stuck there. They were stuck on this boring ass planet that was just barren, nothing to look at. And it just drives home the point on why, like, Ezra's like, are we going home yet? We really need to get home. It's important. We need to go. Like, I really want to get out of here. Let's go. Like, I get it. You were stuck because, like what you said, at first it was cool because it was new and it was fresh. But then the longer we looked at it, the more dull it got. And can you imagine looking at it for every day for like 9 years? So yeah, I get where they were going for with the planet thing. It didn't bother me that much. I just want to throw that out there real quick.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it's fair, and so we have Ezra building his lightsaber, and he's with Hu Yang, and I thought I had a picture of that, but I guess I didn't upload it correctly. I apologize. We've got Ezra doing this whole Hu Yang thing, and it's very interesting because it's obviously they're building up towards the whole Kanan thing, but at the same time, like it felt very obvious, and it just felt very standard. At the same time, I really liked that. It's one of those things where I don't mind the obvious, the on the nose thing, where it's like, oh yeah, I had this hanging out here for Kanan in case he needed one, or Caleb Dune, if you will. Mm-hmm. But it felt very full circle, and I like that because I have a little bit of a gripe with not gripe, but a little bit. I wish I would have went this way instead. But anyway, I do think it was cool that like Ezra got another lightsaber. I mean, you can't like deny lightsabers, man. I mean, come on. So, Tyler, what'd you think of the whole lightsaber, the kind of homage to Kanan kind of thing?
So I really enjoyed the homage to Kanan. I think that it was important for Ezra to understand kind of who Hu Yang is. Just real quickly, he's kind of just assumes he's just another droid because he goes, oh, you knew Kanan? Like, you knew him? Like, he has no idea, like, that Hu Yang's been around for thousands of years and been a part of, like, really Jedi lore since the beginning of the Jedi. And so for him to get that moment, like, oh, this droid actually, I thought that was important. And then I've appreciated just Kanan. We are seeing, like, his presence felt through Ezra, and I think Ezra's now kind of made that step of like he has gone from apprentice to master, and he's honoring his master with that. I found that sequence fine. I just did not like what happened right after that with him and Hu Yang's conversation after Sabine left. I thought that was one of the lowest points of the episode for me. And then before I flip it back over, I just want to hit on the Balin Shin thing.
Yes,
for
please.
me. Yes, I did not find that off-putting. I was wondering where they were, but the thing for me was as soon as the episode got going with Ahsoka and Ezra and them, I just assumed at that point we're not going to see much from Balin and Shin because the story was not about them. And that made me a little sad as I was watching because we all knew that this was the last of Ray Stevenson that we were going to see. And with how impactful the gravity he had, just the overall like charisma and charm that he brought to this show is phenomenal. And I wanted to see him get to display that one more time. And it's clear through what happened that his story was really only beginning. And we all thought he was going to be this character that had just a clean arc this one season. Mm-hmm. And it's just really sad that we're not going to see him be able to go on and do that. I think that's where most of my disappointment from the Balin character comes from this season, is not that he was underutilized, because I think that, as they're writing the show and they're coming up with the script, they're planning big things for him in the future.
Right.
And just the loss of Ray Stevenson made that lack of screen time feel just so much more clear and palpable to me. And we could talk about that later, but yeah, one of the low points of the episode for me was Ezra and Huyang's conversation after Sabine left.
Yeah, no, I would say for me, one of the things I thought it was interesting, and when Ezra is being like, oh yeah, thanks Huyang, you're great, and then Sabine's getting kind of like bummed out, but they play in a certain way, and I'm curious, people in the audience, if you agree with this. I couldn't tell if she was bummed out or she was sad because, of missing Kanan and time has passed. Like I couldn't tell which one it was. Am I crazy on that?
I think it's because Huyang was talking Ezra up so much, talking about how good of an apprentice he always was. Because at the beginning of this, he's telling Sabine, you were the worst. There were so many that were better than you. Right. And so I think that's what she's thinking about. And it's kind of a callback to that. That's how I read it anyway.
Yeah, no, I think you're onto something there. Yeah, Huyang was kind of a bummer. That wasn't super nice of Huyang. I mean, that was kind of a bummer moment. I would definitely agree to that. So as we go on here, we obviously they get attacked by the TIE fighters, and then Sabine has to ram the ship, and whatever, and basically they're stuck there. And they have to go find them, and then go attack the Citadel. And Thrawn's like, let's recover, or let's bring Hellfire on them, and let's get the witches. And we have obviously this great moment with Morgan Elspeth. And guys, I want to know what you guys think about this, because when they were doing this whole thing, right?
Yes,
I love this. And when they all brought Morgan into it, the first thing I thought of was they're going to make her a Night Mother. And when they just made her just be like, oh, I just got my sword, no big deal. I'm like this now. I was kind of bummed. I mean, I made my own, like, I hate to say it, my own canon in my head, thinking as soon as it started happening, I'm thinking they made her a Night Mother. It's going to be a really important character going forward. This is great. I started like just doing that as it was going on. And then, yeah, she's like, actually, I just got some ash on my head, and I got my sword that's like floating like screen fire, and I'm good to go. I was a little bummed because I love Morgan Elspeth. I'm like, give me more Morgan Elspeth like stuff to do, because and I'll get into the fight scene as we go on. But did you guys think that they're gonna make her a like a Night Mother? Because I feel like she deserved it after all this time. Like she helped orchestrate all this.
I think we need to pause though. I think we need to pause. I have to pause and say we need to go back a little bit, because there are some things I really.
Okay.
So I think some of the most important missed moments of the episode were the Ahsoka Sabine interaction before the TIE fighter came. And I think, and I really want to emphasize, because I told you I had some low moments of the episode that weren't action.
Sure. Please.
And it really frustrated me that how we learn about why Ahsoka left Sabine was through Huyang just telling Ezra, and him just kind of giving an overlaying sequence there of like, he's like, what happened between those two? He's like, oh yeah, this happened. And you're taking one of the biggest emotional moments of the scene, one of the pivotal moments between the two main characters of the show, Sabine and Ahsoka, the big rift between them, and you're not playing that out between the two of them. You're just doing it with two people that are not emotionally connected to that situation. That was, when I say Filoni could benefit from the writer's room, and I've said that in the past, those are the moments I'm talking about. Like, I would have liked to have seen Ahsoka talk to her and confront Sabine head on about that, something that Sabine's clearly been harboring. And then when Ahsoka tells her on the ship, saying how I'm going to stand by you through all of this, it shows her growth through what she experienced in the world between worlds and everything. Yes. And understanding who Anakin was as her master, and she's conveying that level of trust to her now. But that moment's completely lost on us because we just had to sit and listen to Huyang give us a little bit of a 30-second monologue on it. And I'm sorry to like turn it back. I just felt like that was
No.
such
Please, I'm glad you did.
I just felt like that was such a missed moment in the episode where I think it just got lost on a lot of people what that should have meant, but didn't have the opportunity to, if that makes sense.
All right, Brian, please comment because I have a lot to say about this. Actually, go ahead.
What did she say? What did Hu Yang say happened between them? Because I remember the scene, but I don't know if I remember what was said. What did he say happened between them?
I mean, so like Ahsoka and Sabine, there was a falling out, and we weren't really sure what happened. And Hu Yang went on and said that he told Ezra about the purge from Mandalore and how Ahsoka stopped training Sabine because she was worried about why she was training, like worried she was take revenge, and she basically cut off her training for a mistake that she hadn't made yet, or maybe never would have made. She basically took that choice away from her and said, I'm going to do this, basically what Hu Yang said. And I thought that would have been a great moment for Sabine and Ahsoka to talk about finally together, and then Ahsoka get into the I'm going to stand by you, like you've done a great job, and she learned in the World Between Worlds about how to make those choices and allow for those failures to happen. And it just was like we got that in Hu Yang just telling Ezra, oh yeah, so she left and this, and we've been wondering what happened between them this whole season.
Yeah,
and
the fact that I missed it
is frustrating.
The fact I missed it drives your point home, to be completely honest, because I completely missed everything that was said there.
That's what my buddies and I were talking about. Was like that should have been one of the emotional moments of the episode.
Yeah,
I think it was, but sorry, Brent, go ahead.
No, you're good. Like I said, I had missed it. That's the, I don't know. I guess I just thought there was just because I don't remember what was going on. Something happened in my house or something, and it kind of drew my attention away. It just at that moment, and I missed it completely. And so when you started talking about that, I was like, "What are you talking about?" And then I get it now
because it was one of
you
the
should have seen that.
Moments,
yeah.
It was one of the emotional moments.
Now, hold on. I'm going to push back on this because here's a problem. I would agree with you if it wasn't being like kind of hinted at throughout the entire season. If this was like episode 2 and that's all they brought up for it, then yes, I think that boils more to your point. But I think to my point, to what almost Brian's a great example of, he already through osmosis and through, I think, just natural progression of the characters kind of already put 2 and 2 together, and it wasn't that big of a deal. Because
we didn't see them talk about it.
But we don't need to see him talk about it.
I think we do.
I don't think we do, because that's the whole thing. Is like that's the one thing that what did Anakin teach Sabine? He's like, you gotta push forward. You can't stay like, can't be like, whoa, we're gonna be all sad and be a Ronin Jedi around here. Like, no, he's like, go out there. Like, because again, I brought up that whole point on the show a couple weeks ago. I said, to me, it's like faith without works is dead, and that's exactly what like I think Anakin was telling her. Like, if you're not progressing, you're dying. And that's the whole point. I think that's the thing where I don't think that we're dwelling on that. We already got hints of it, and we got an understanding that like there was a falling out. We don't, and this, to me, the whole Hu Yang thing was more of like a little bit more clarity, but at the same time, I don't think to me, it's not the biggest deal. I don't care, because to me, her evolution as a character is more important than what the history was of the character. If that makes sense. So
I agree to an extent. I just think that the evolution of her character is directly tied into her relationship with her master. And I felt like we know Ahsoka had that. You were talking about like in the World Between Worlds with Anakin, she learned that lesson. But the last time we really saw Sabine was when Baylan was talking with her before she was getting on the map, and he's like, she didn't trust you, she had all these things, and now they're back together. And kind of the last time she was talking around Ahsoka was when she was confronted with the fact that she felt like her master was partially responsible for her not having saved her own family on Mandalore. And to have that just swept up under the rug with a quick nod to Yoda and just Ahsoka talking about Anakin, and I love that scene. I just felt like if we're going to include that at all, which they made it a point to include that through the Hu Yang thing, if we're going to include that at all, why not have it center around the characters that it's most emotionally like tied to? Like it's their story, let them hash it out, and then maybe Ezra can listen, like he listens and he hears what happens versus just it felt like I was being narrated to.
Hold on. It's like this. It's like Ezra talking. He's like, tell me more. Yes. Yes. Tell me more. Tell me more. Okay. Okay. I see what's going on here, ladies. Okay. Okay. No, but the thing is, and Brian, you can't step in here. I want to say, I think you get that, in my opinion, again, in the conversation they're having, because she says your gamble paid off. And then she talks about how Anakin stuck by me, which again, a little loose, whatever. But she's emphasizing through progression instead of like, let's hash this out and talk about exposition for the next 10 minutes. It's like I'm being like, I'm joking around. I don't want to be rude, right. But I think, in my opinion, it's a way of skirting around it. Yes, but in the best way possible. Because honestly, if this was how about this? If this was in a vacuum. Like, and I know everything's in a vacuum, the series should be in a vacuum, but this reality is just not the case. We're in an ongoing saga. Like whether it's Marvel, anything franchise related, it's going to have tie-ins. You're going to be dealing with the stuff, and you're just going to need to deal with the fact that things are going to have to always be overly explained in the movie. And I don't need a PowerPoint presentation to tell me what happened between, at that moment. I can put the pieces together, which I think Filoni did a good job of. I definitely think it was risky and pretty gutsy move to make this whole thing about these two characters that we never thought had a relationship before. But to be quite honest, I can't wait for the supplementary material to come out to talk about it, because there's so much to talk about. So anyway, Brian, I'll let you wrap it up, and then we'll move on to anything else we need to go on after that.
Like I said, I completely missed that part of the episode. So the fact that I even missed it, and like you said, that was a major moment. I don't know. I feel like you could have had the exact same conversation, but instead of it being Huyang and Ezra, you could have that would have been a perfect moment for Sabine and Ezra to talk about it, or Sabine and Ahsoka to talk about it. When Ahsoka's, saying, I'm gonna, but they didn't. They didn't talk about what happened between them.
We don't need to talk about what happened exactly, because
then why did Huyang have to tell Ezra? What I'm saying is, it didn't have to be Huyang and Ezra having that conversation. You could have had Ahsoka and Sabine having that exact same conversation. And it would have carried a little more weight, I think. And so I mean, you can meet in the middle. I can meet in the middle between.
Yeah, what Brian's saying is not what he's saying is not like cutting the conversation out and just replacing it here. Yeah. It's we had to have it with if they're going to include it, we would have rather them include it with those two versus just saying like Huyang and Ezra just giving us a quick one over, because at that point it feels like I am just being told what happened versus I'm seeing them come to grips with the trauma, because sometimes you just have to get it off your chest.
Right. Now, but here's the thing though. I think that to me, and I'd rather have the progression than the regression, than the rehash it, because I think it's a lot more interesting for Ezra to learn it through his eyes than to have to be like, let them sit down and be like, that one time. Oh yeah, that one time. I'd rather see the progression of these two characters, because everyone talked about how depressed Ahsoka was. Let's rehash that for them. And I just don't want to feel. I honestly think it was clever in a perfect way of handling it. That's just me. Again, but
at the same time, Ezra could have learned about it when he's talking to Sabine in 2 episodes ago, when she's telling him about everything that happened in the galaxy since he's been gone. Because when she's like, she took me on as a Padawan, and he's like, why aren't you now? Like, and so that would have been a perfect time for Ezra to find out about it.
Or Brian, or he could have been like sneaking around, being like, all right, what are they talking about? What are they talking about? Hello. No, anyway. So anyway, I disagree. I think it was fine. I don't think it was perfect by any means, but I think it was fine for me. Anything before we get to Night Mothers and Morgan, back to Morgan Elsbeth? Is there anything else I'm missing, you two, before I move on? Anything
real quick?
Critical? Yes, please.
Real quick, I want to address this comment by Justin Shields real quick.
Yes.
I think Timothy Zahn has teased that he's wanting to write more Thrawn, and it takes place in that. I'm all for it. Bring it on. Bring it on. Yes, we do. Well, then don't read it if you don't need it. I need it, so I'm going to read it. So that's where I'm at.
I'd rather someone else tackle Thrawn, because Timothy Zahn he's just too good for Star Wars, Brian. He just needs to. He's so good and so literate that he's perfect. We don't need any more. We've already had too much perfection. We've already had too much perfection. Let's move on. Let's give Thrawn to somebody else that actually is more interesting. Anyway, I do. Well, It's a whole separate episode. We'll talk about Thrawn and all this. We won't have an episode talking about Thrawn. Okay,
no.
Anyway, I guess we won't. All right. So back to the Night Mothers. Now, I want to get your guys' opinions. And Brian, I'll throw it to you. Did you think Morgan Elsbeth was being turned into a Night Mother? I thought so. I wanted that.
I think she did.
No, I don't think so. Tyler, did they turn her into a Night Mother?
Why else would she be worthy to wield the sword of Talzin, Mother Talzin? I think they did turn her into a mother. I think she just didn't have the flowy robes like they did. But she had, like you said earlier, she had ash on her face. They all do too. I think that's exactly what they did. They bestowed their power upon her just to have it, like you said earlier, though. I think they wasted it. But yeah, I think that's exactly what they did. They made her a mother. Because Mother Talzin was the fourth mother. There were 4. And Mother Talzin gone. We know that from Clone Wars. Why? There could be another one.
Now listen, I am never going to be the one to say I never miss things, because Lord knows I do. And did they actually say this is the sword of Talzin?
Yeah, they said it right there when we bestow upon you the sword of Talzin.
Oshit.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Hold on. Now, a couple things on this. Okay. So Tyler, really quick, give me a quick little answer. We'll go deeper in this, but you think they made her a Night Mother?
I think so. I think that no Night Mothers are the same. She has a special set of skills that she can wield the blade. The Great Mothers are obviously on their way into the other galaxy. I thought it was maybe some just play on just like politics of the Night Mothers and whatever. Like there's the Mothers, which she is, but maybe there's only 3 Great Mothers, and I don't know. It's so she's, I think, like a step below them still, which is why she has to stay back. But at the same time, she is the one with the sword, can do sword things. I just like seeing the green magic stuff be back. That felt like the classic Darth, more magic stuff instead of, not that their little, balls of red light aren't fun, but it was nice to kind of get that.
Their balls of red light are
little balls of red light.
Okay, Tyler,
I hated those.
Mouth, sir. You guys watch your mouth. I love that stuff.
Why couldn't those have been green? Why couldn't they have been green though?
Maybe because their robes are red. They came from the robes. Come on, man.
Then why, if their magic is green, why aren't their robes green?
Because, dude, it can't all be green. It would be like, I don't know, little like big Yodas out there. I don't know. So I want to say this because I do think this sword was way too real world. I was not a fan of this blade. I feel if I'm going to give criticism, and I like this episode, and I'm just going to say, I think that they should have went full on smoke, like just cover the whole mother in smoke. Like, don't let it just be like, that's little flames coming off the sword. No. Give me 100% green magic where it's flowing off there. Like, spend a few extra bucks. Don't, maybe cut a couple stormtroopers to save some money to use special effects to make that sword look a little more dynamic. Because it felt way too much like she went in the Pulp Fiction pawn shop and grabbed it off the rack. I'm just gonna say it. Like, it looks too real world to me. Am I alone on this? People in the chat, holler at me.
Hang on a second. I'll pull up a picture of Talzin with it, and
so
we can see. Here we go.
Yeah, is it animation? So
yeah.
My point was that at first I was kind of like, oh, it's a little less mystical than I would have liked. But what they did,
I got you,
which I loved, was the sound, effects that they used when her and Ahsoka were fighting. With, you can just hear like the lightsaber versus like the sword type. I love the sound design with that. So I instantly was like, okay, it makes you know that it's kind of like not a lightsaber, it's more of a sword type weapon. And so the sound makes you instantly go there. And I love the contrast with the sound. So to me, once I heard it and watched it in action, it felt a lot better. And I wonder if having a more practical and with less visual effects for it made the fight a little bit smoother even for them to do some of because I thought the duel between her and Ahsoka was phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, the only time we'd seen Dathomirian magic so far was in Clone Wars and in the Jedi games, right? And every time you've seen it in Clone Wars, it's a stylized cartoon, so everything's going to be more exaggerated. You know what I mean? And so with it being as bright as it is, I can see how in real life it would be, in a live action setting, it would be more subdued. I get that. Even in the Fallen Order games, it's a little exaggerated. It's a game, though. You know what I mean? And so to see it in live action, though, I think it makes sense that it would be more subdued and just have a faint glow to it instead of being bright. And you know what I'm saying? So, like, to build off of what Tyler's saying, it had a more of a real world feel to it, and I think it works better just kind of having a little bit of a mystic glow to it, just enough to show that it's there. I like it.
All right, people in the chat. Am I crazy? Where'd my picture go? Is this? I just think that looks not that interesting. I'm sorry. I just don't like it as much. I think it's a little bit weaker. But
the only reason they gave it to her is because they knew she was going to get left behind. She needed something to fight Ahsoka with, and they bestowed upon her the gift of a belonging of one of the mothers. And sure. I think that's the only reason. It was the only reason she got that sword was fan service.
I mean, is it though? Was it fan service? I mean,
I feel like she gets the sword, and no matter what, I think them just specifically calling it the Sword of Talzin was, Clone Wars fan service, which I thought was fine. Like, I love that. I mean, it wasn't. I love the fan service that's not so heavily
in your face.
In your face. Like, this has to be, and it's so plot heavy. Like, without it, it kind of ruins the plot. This one's just kind of like, if you know, you know. If not, you're like, it's a cool name.
Right. It's like the Ghost and Chopper popping up in Rogue One. It's like for us sweaties that keep track of everything. Oh, hey, I know what that is, but you don't have to know to get the full effect of everything.
The emitter's too narrow comment.
I saw that.
Good. Yep.
Well, so we get this whole thing, and then we have Morgan Elsbeth's like, oh, Thrawn, they're all these guys are all ready to sacrifice themselves and everything, and I like you. I think everyone, I'm assuming, all knew what was coming. Did anyone? I mean, I think we all knew this was obvious, right? Am I wrong on this, guys? Tyler, what's your take?
It kind of felt like they were going to happen. It was one of those things that felt. I think even people that aren't necessarily hardcore Star Wars fans thought there was going to be some sort of element to them, just the way they're geared up, seeing the magic, and everything. So it was going to come. I thought it was executed wonderfully, personally.
Yeah.
Okay. So we get the Hellfire gets brought down on our heroes, and they're coming in hot. Before we get any further, I want a couple things I want to talk about, which I don't want to go too deep in. We'll save it for a different episode. But one of the things that Thrawn talked about with the Night Mothers, and our friend, I want to say our boy Ezra brought it up while he was chilling out with Hugh Yang, building his lightsaber, being all radical. When he kind of gave some more exposition, one of your favorite things, Tyler, exposition through just a little few comments here, but he says the Thrawn woke up the witches. I'm not sure if he said it here or somewhere else, but regardless, he says that he basically
said it as they were on the hill.
On the hill, excuse me. And
so, before Ezra, they did their charge thing.
Yeah. And he talks about, Thrawn came in, woke up the witches, and you're talking about a plethora of storytelling just ready to be written about this. Because one of the things I thought about, because the Night Mothers are indebted to Thrawn. And part of it, as we know, is they're getting off planet. Where does this all mean? Did he literally figure out these ladies were being held captive and then reawoke them? And what does that mean for what's in those, cabinets, those coffins or sarcophaguses, whatever you want to call them? There's a lot of stuff to unpack there. And I thought that was very interesting wording that Dave Filoni very, very specifically said, woke up. And I think with that is a lot of really intriguing ideas here with this planet, because I think that to me it makes it a lot more interesting, and it makes a lot more sense that they're indebted to Thrawn if they were released and freed by Thrawn, and there's this kind of an uneasy alliance between them a little bit. So
that's why we need a Timothy Zahn novel.
No, God, no.
Yes.
I don't want Zahn touching the Night Mothers and Night Sisters. Go get the hell away from them, Zahn.
Yes.
But does that seem interesting? Anything else, Brian? Is that besides Thrawn butchering them? Is there anything else, or excuse me, Zahn butchering them? Is there anything you want to add? Does that seem? What do you think about that whole idea?
I think you covered it. Yeah.
Okay, Tyler. Anything else?
I thought it was interesting wording because I think we all assume that this cargo coming up could have been this undead army, and then we see these casket things at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
So my question was, in the caskets, are they going to be an undead army of Night Sisters, or is it more Night Mothers or Night Sisters that just need to be, quote unquote, woken up, and in order to wake them up, they have to get back to Dathomir or something? I don't know why that would have to be the case, but if they had to be woken up, I would assume that the Great Mothers were probably in a casket or something similar. If they're asleep, they're trapped by something, probably in a more prominent location. Then all of these look the exact same. So that was my thought was, Thrawn. And I loved how he put like Thrawn found this place. Like he sought it out, he released them. That's how he came up with this plan. And so my question would just be, is the army an undead army, which I think is more likely, or is it more Night Sisters just waiting to be, woken up?
I'm going to say this and we're going to move on. I want to think that all those coffins or those things that are bringing with them are Night Sisters that need to be woken up. Maybe there's probably some undead stuff in there too, right? Or dead stuff that to be zombies and be like just kind of, henchmen to plow through, if you will. Right. I do think that because you basically rendered Dathomir completely, a wasteland of Night Sisters due to the Clone Wars, right?
Yeah.
And like you've got a couple of stragglers hanging out there, like you have Marin, you've got Morgan, and there might be a few more out there, but there's not very many. Mm-hmm. I think, to be honest, I think for Star Wars and for Jedi I think in the future to have more adversaries, you need to incorporate the Night Mothers and the Night Sisters again. And I think this is an avenue for. Again, I could be wrong, but it feels like Dave Filoni is helping set up Star Wars storytelling in the future. Besides the Mandoverse, whatever if you want to call it, I think it's setting up like more adversaries and more villains and more obstacles for Jedis to have conflicts over. Besides just your classic Sith, Dark Jedi, whatever. Because now, regardless of what happens, you can still establish the fact that Dathomir is back on the map as a legitimate threat. After this whole series is over, all this whole storyline is over. And I think you've done that now. And now you also establish that where they come from is also a place of big stuff, as we'll get into a little bit. So I think there's more to it than just like, here's just for this one story. I think this, I could be wrong, but it does feel like we're setting up just an ongoing enemy for the Jedi going forward, which is awesome, I think. So we get in, and we have our friends with in my opinion, the very, very awkward shots of them together. In my opinion, this looks very odd to me, and so I can't explain it. It just feels very, very small. The scale seems small to me with this because the enclosed like nature of the temple, and when they all come in and start plowing them down, it just feels as kind of awkward at times. Again, some of the shot placement wasn't very dynamic. It just felt very just weird to me. I just didn't always play for me. You guys all loved it, I assume. Is that correct?
I didn't even notice, honestly. Okay. I was just wrapped up in what was going on. So, yeah.
Okay. So they mow them down, and we get the most not surprising thing of all time as we got green eyes and we become zombies. I thought this was cool. It was interesting. Again, it wasn't a surprise, but it was cool to kind of see them kind of come in and like freak them all out and going, what are we going to do? They become zombies again. Oh my God. And they all chase them up here. Any comments about this whole scene and everything?
Brian?
Yeah, I think it's funny how, like, I get why you can see the eyes through the goggles because, anytime you see one of the undead Night Sisters, they got the green, I get it. But I think it's funny. Have you guys ever seen the picture of the Stormtrooper helmet with a human head inside of it and how the eyes don't line up with the eye lenses? Yeah, it makes zero sense. Their eyes would not have been seen through those lenses. There's no way. Those lenses are way too low to be part of their eyes. But other than that, no, I thought it was awesome. I thought it looked really cool on the actual Death Troopers when they were fighting later on. I thought that's the one thing I didn't understand about the reanimated dead was the night Death Troopers that Sabine and Ahsoka ended up fighting one of their helmets was like cut off, and you could see its mouth, and it had a zombie mouth and trying to bite, and it was like that's why, yeah, that's the shot. That's why I hesitate to call them zombies, because I don't feel like they're zombies. And I like how she pulled off the Kylo Ren move there. I like that right through the skull. That was great. But
yeah, we'll kind of piggyback off all this here because I did like. I thought it was cool to see a Mando with a lightsaber again and actually have the helmet on, because they very strategically took the helmet off with the lightsaber and kind of saved that moment for this right here, because we got the dark saber, right? But this is actually a full-on lightsaber, not a dark saber. I thought it was interesting, and so I will say I liked it a little better when they're on top of the thing, you know. I actually liked the Death Trooper scene. I thought was cool, in my opinion.
yeah.
I thought that was.
Oh no, I thought it was great. I thought it was awesome.
That was one of the more nicer things. So, Tyler, any comments on zombies here?
No real comments for me. I really like the last comment that said it could have been out of tone. I think something that really helped it stay kind of within that Star Wars-y realm is just some of the banter we get between Ahsoka, Sabine, and Ezra with the whole, she's been training. He's like, what's your excuse? Yes, I miss you so much. Like that sarcasm.
That was great.
And I thought that was good. And I love the fight scenes. I loved how you could see Ezra and Ahsoka like just really easily deflecting the blaster bolts around and doing their thing. And you see Sabine struggling a little bit off to the side. Like clearly, we got some work to do over here. And so Ahsoka's like, you know what? Just switch to blasters here. And she switches to blasters and kind of begins to mow them down, and it was really good. I loved all the action stuff in this one. I didn't have any issues with it, but let's get into the Death Trooper stuff, because there's obviously some pretty big stuff that happens in that episode.
Yeah.
Or in that
and really quickly, just to kind of put a button on this, I do think that there is I think the biggest, my friend Tim from the Saga Continues brought up another great point. He said that he thinks maybe some of the blaster deflections were kind of slow, and that maybe I think the intensity of it wasn't as, it couldn't have been as more. It could, if they were shooting and deflecting a little bit faster, maybe it just felt like some of it felt slow. Not all of it, but a good portion of it. So, yeah, the Death Trooper scene was something that we all saw coming, but I thought it was perfect. I did like the fact that Sabine was able to finally succumb to her over her herself and basically become evolve as a Jedi. And she's still, and I like how she's not just taking names like nobody's business, but she's gotten stronger, right? It's not just like she's all went from like I'm barely capable to like I'm fully capable to take on anybody and everything. She's gotten better, but it's still work in progress. So I really appreciate it. And I do think that the Death Trooper scene was perfect. And I thought the scene where she grabs the lightsaber and does this was earned, in my opinion. Tyler, what's your take?
It felt really flat for me. So
okay.
Here's my thing is I loved the moment when she grabs it. It was fine. I loved how we get a few notes of the Force theme and it kind of crescendos into something else, and then it swells a little bit and we get it full-fledged later when she does the Force push. If we circle back to the Ahsoka Sabine conversation from the beginning of the episode, and I just think it's funny how Ahsoka is like, let me tell you a secret. Wielding a lightsaber, that's not what makes someone a Jedi. Like, trust in the Force. And then the first time she's going to use the Force and Force grab it is when she's being choked to death in this life or death situation where if she doesn't grab the weapon, she will die. I really wanted, and I loved her pushing Ezra in that scene. I felt like that should have been the first moment for her using the Force, because
that's
Ahsoka's whole trust the Force line, and here they go. They get through the Death Troopers, and then Ezra has to get over there, and he does not want to do it. He hesitates, and if she had just been like, trust me, like, I got this, like, and she has that moment where she believes in herself, she trusts in the Force, not in this life or death situation, but just out of, that true inner faith that she's discovered. And then especially when the music hit with the Force theme, like absolutely blasting there, to me, that would have probably given me the fist pump moment that I wanted. Instead, it was just kind of like, oh, yep, she's gonna save her life. Obviously, she's not gonna die. She does it, and it just felt like kind of a reverse card of, wielding a lightsaber is not what makes you a Jedi. And then, the first time I need the Force, I get it. But so if she was saving Ezra or something like that, maybe. But to me, I really wanted the push to be that first moment. I'm fine with her wielding the Force and everything, so I don't want people to think that I'm hating on Sabine being a Force user. I just felt like the scene, I wanted to, it's just one of those things that they've been hinting at all season, and I wanted to just pump my fist and be so excited about it. But instead, I was just kind of like, all right, yeah.
You've kind of convinced me. Actually, I kind of wish we got that too now. I think that's a strong story point. Damn, I wish that. You're right, man. You're right. Brian, anything to add on that?
I didn't think of it that way, but yeah, he's absolutely right. Now that Tyler fleshed that out, yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. That should have been the big moment, because at that point, she's going to do it. Yeah, I think that would have been a much bigger, like you said, a fist pumping moment than just grabbing a lightsaber, off the ground. I mean, I agree.
We know she's a Mandalorian. She's going to be great with weapons. The whole point of, I thought, her arc of this season was learning how to even trust in the Force at all, because that was even goes back to, and Brian will appreciate this, it goes back to when she's training with the Darksaber, when Kanan's like, there's just this block here, because she's so Mandalorian, there's just this block, and we can't get through the block. And then it would have been nice to see her get through that in a life or death, still a life or death situation in a sense, but more of like the spiritual component of the Force for me.
Yeah. So we're going to move on to the next scene, which we have a lot to cover. So we're already kind of running a little bit over. So we'll kind of hurry through this, because we still got weeks ahead of stuff to analyze. So I want to make sure we hit a couple major story points, and then we'll head out of here. The Morgan Elsbeth versus Ahsoka fight. I'm just going to say it. It was fine. I thought it was good. Wasn't great, but I'm not gonna lie, guys. This was a much better fight, if I'm being honest. This was a much better fight than this one. Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna say it. I thought this was way not as dynamic and interesting compared to this. This was a phenomenal fight. This one's it's fine. It's fine. That's just my opinion. Tyler, I know you love this one, so defend yourself.
So I agree with you that the more interesting fight is the first one. I 100% agree. I just think that because we got the first one, they had that fight to size each other up already. They had that fight where they do the whole samurai, like, let's see what you have. They're walking into this. They know what each other's made of. They know what each other's have. Let's get after it. And I thought that the urgency of the episode kind of needed the duel to match the urgency of the plot. And so them really going after it really quickly, it felt very I think they did a good balance of the kind of old school, like trilogy kind of samurai type battles to the prequel kind of really fast paced, almost like dances. And this one felt like more of the dance, when we've had Ahsoka and Baylan do more of the samurai thing. So I loved it, because I felt like it perfectly matched the pacing of the episode that we needed. And like you said, Paul, we already saw them fight once and size each other up. So this was the fist pump moment for me when she did the whole grab it, double slash. Like, that got me to just be like, oh, because they had me. And I know Dave is not going to leave Ahsoka all by herself on there. I know he's not going to kill her off, but the way they did it just for a moment, when Sabine looked like she was going to run off to Ezra, and then she gets her lightsaber slashed, it's one of those things where I'm like, they're not gonna do this. Like, I know it, but when I'm watching it, it got me enough to just feel a little uneasy, a little queasy, and then to have that moment where Sabine does show back up and solidify their bond, and then she finishes her off, it was the high point of the episode for me.
Brian?
I loved that fight. I thought that was an awesome fight. I thought, like what Barbara said here, the choreography was awesome. I know, Paul, you said something earlier about the camera angles of it and stuff like that. But I mean, just seeing the fight, that was good. That's a good lightsaber fight. That was an awesome personal one-on-one battle. And I'm with Tyler. I did not know how that fight was going to end. I had no idea. I wasn't sure. Like, I really didn't know. And then especially after she lost her Shoto saber, I really wasn't sure. And like you said, the urgency of the plot of the scene of everything happening at once. It was to me, it built some suspense, and I was like, because we didn't know what was going to happen to Ahsoka. We had no idea. I mean, he very well could have killed her off in her own series. It is entirely possible that it could have happened, but I just part of me was just like Tyler said. I think we knew deep down that she was going to make it, but a part of me I was like, man, what if she doesn't though? And I was like,
uneasy. It was just you're a little uneasy. Like I'm watching it and I'm like, she's gonna be fine. And I'm like,
yeah,
right? Like she's gonna be fine, right? And that was the thing for me. It was just a little, kind of hanging in there.
But I'm glad that Morgan got what she got, because and here's why. But here's the thing though. She was a pawn the whole time. That's all she was to Thrawn, was a pawn. She outlived. Then how'd she die? Because she literally outlived her usefulness. That's all she was good for at that point. And when he looked at her and said, "You need to stay behind," she knew she wasn't going to survive, but he needed somebody to stay behind. That's why she got the sword, was because she was the one that was going to get left behind to fight Ahsoka. But I think he was going to leave her there. He was going to leave her there, so it didn't matter whether she lived or died or not. He was done with her. He was done using her. She got the ship to him. That's all he cared about. He was done with her at that point. So I'm glad they did what they did to her. She outlived her usefulness, and there was nothing else that she could do.
Nah, bro.
Paul, I'll give Paul something that might help him. Her line, that might help you feel better about her death. The line that she gives for Dathomir as Thrawn walks away, I think it gives her at least a little more agency as a character.
Yeah,
because
that's fair.
Instead of just being thrown, because she's like, I'm not doing this for him. I'm not doing this. This is for Dathomir. This is for my sisters. This is for something else. Otherwise, if it's not, then she's just this piece of trash that gets thrown away this whole season. I like, at least that gives her something. And then the last thing I want to point out, and Rosario Dawson's ferocity that she brought.
So good. She's incredible, dude. She's so good.
Incredible. When she is walking right before her and Elsbeth have the final exchange, when she has one saber and she's just walking back over, staring her down. You can feel the tenacity. It was a phenomenal performance. I just wanted to say that real quick.
And she had the Ahsoka. Yeah. She had the Ahsoka moves. That was Ahsoka. That wasn't Rosario, man. That was Ahsoka. I mean, that was so good.
People aren't give. I feel like they need to give her a lot of credit, because I think she brought an energy to the fight scenes that is very hard to, I think, get across on film without using a stunt double. It's obviously she probably used a stunt double at times, but all the close-up stuff, it's her. You can tell it's her. At least I think, I'm assuming it is. If it's not, it's phenomenal likeness. I think that all the stuff that you could see with her is really impressive, because she does bring an energy to it, and it's very impressive what she's able to do. And I think you couldn't cast, or how about this? They got very lucky casting her, because I think they probably had no idea she had this natural ability to be this, have this energy, and I love it. So anyway. So, Thrawn, Ezra gets thrown up by our girl Sabine. He gets on the ship. He bolts out. He goes, and he then pulls a whole lot. It's obviously a callback to his Rebel days, which I really am so tired of Ezra Kanan hiding in stormtrooper outfits.
Man, dude, that was so perfect though. When he's by the dead trooper and the communique is coming through the comm link, and he's just like, yeah, this is trooper so and so, and they're like, we're sending reinforcements. He's like, good to know, and he just drags again. That was pure Rebels, dude. That was pure season 2 Ezra. Pure and simple.
Imagine is if Thrawn's face eventually when he finds out, he's like, that little turd got on board the ship. Are you freaking kidding me?
You're not wrong.
You're not wrong. The only thing too was it was a cool parallel from the beginning of the show when the New Republic ship was boarded by 2 people claiming to be Jedi that weren't.
Yeah.
And then because you had the smoke that came up when they got off, and it's Baylan and Shin, and then the smoke comes up, and it's like we actually have the Jedi that's here now.
Yeah.
You had two people claiming to be Jedi who weren't bored, and then this time you had a guy that was a Jedi basically claiming not to be in stormtrooper armor, walking off. That was cool.
It was so funny.
Yeah, it was. I thought, I heard some people complain about the fact that, like, we didn't see the embrace of of Ezra and Heather. I'm like, you don't need to. Like, I thought their faces said it all. And
I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was good. So obviously, I'm just gonna say this right now. I predicted that everyone would stay on Peridia.
Yeah, this whole series was basically one big Uno reverse card.
But what I didn't But what I didn't predict was Thrawn making it out and then being stuck there. I did not predict that. So, but at least I feel good about my prediction, because it did feel like they can't just hang out there for a long time. And I have so much to talk about this, but I'm just going to throw this out there really quick, and we can analyze it on a different episode. But I want quick answers for everyone in the audience, and you two, obviously. Is she going to make it back for the Mando film? Are they going to be a part of this whole ending?
No.
I agree with you. I agree.
Yeah, 100%. He's not. She's not. If they were to do a season 2 of Ahsoka, because I know right now they haven't ordered it, they don't know if they're going to do one or not. I mean, I did see that if they do it, it's going to be before the movie that Dave Filoni did. It's gonna happen first. But if they do a season 2 of Ahsoka, it's not gonna have anything to do with Thrawn or Ezra. It's gonna be what's happening on Peridia with Ahsoka and Sabine and Shin and Baylan. That's what it's gonna be. Ahsoka season 2 is going to be Baylan's gonna be the main villain of season 2, and that's exactly what's going to happen. And we can talk about that here in a minute. But that's what season 2 is going to be. It's gonna have nothing to do with anything else, with Thrawn or anything like that. I think that whole threat got carried over. I think that's going to be, talked about in Mando season 4 and maybe Skeleton Crew whenever that comes out. That's what that's going to end up being. That threat just transferred from one series to another. That's all that did. And Tyler? so the Ahsoka series, that's what this is going to end up being.
100% agree. Tyler?
If the day comes, I will not believe that Ahsoka is not going to be in Dave Filoni's feature film until I see it. Like, I have to see it to believe it, kind of thing. Because that is his brainchild. That is his daughter almost. Like, he cultivated her, created her. He's written every step of her journey. Mm-hmm. And now he has this opportunity to do a feature film in Star Wars. To me, I have a hard time thinking he's not going to want to end, if he ends her journey, in that film or before. Like, I have a hard time seeing him not wanting to end her journey on the big screen, like in that moment, giving her the biggest audience possible. And so I think it could be we don't see her much necessarily in the movie, and she could come in, in the third act or something and come in, but like there's so much that's going to happen, I think, story-wise, before we get to that movie, that it's impossible to speculate. And so I just kind of go to literally every time this man gets to put Ahsoka in something, he does. He finds a way. And now he's got the keys to the kingdom for a theaters, film, and he's not gonna use her at all. Like, I have a hard time thinking.
This is why though, it's not just his thing now. The movie culminates Jon Favreau's world too. It's not just Jon Favreau. It's not just Dave Filoni's thing. If it was Dave Filoni's thing altogether, maybe you have a point. But here's the other problem: you have a lot of characters you'll be carrying over, and there's just not enough time, because you also got to remember that there's the budgets, or not budgets, but there's the release dates. Disney wants these movies out ASAP, and the Rey movie is obviously first. The second one I believe is supposed to be Dave's movie. Maybe I'm wrong in that, and they'll wait and they'll do. Maybe they'll switch it and they'll do, but I don't think so. I think
Filoni's movie is way further off than we think it is.
I could have sworn they said 2027. I could have sworn
they have two.
That's still 4 years.
2 movies slotted for 2026. I think now, May and December. Now that means absolutely nothing when it comes to Lucasfilm. Given, I mean, we were supposed to have a movie come out in about 8 weeks or whatever.
But Tyler, but you got to remember this too. you have to if you want to do you have to do Ahsoka season 2 essentially to get her out of that planet. I mean, unless you want to do something really crazy, which you would never do, is she just show up without having to explain everything, which I don't think that's going to happen. We all agree
somehow Ahsoka returned.
She can
just put that in the movie and it's fine.
If it's a culmination event of several shows, there's no doubt in my mind that you can't have her be in another galaxy and find a way back at some point.
World Between Worlds.
I mean,
Didn't she get back?
It's Star Wars. We've had plenty of movies in Star Wars that are bouncing different locations and jumping forward here and there. And so to me, if that's the story he wants to tell, he's going to be able to do it in a way that makes it could be as simple as like she does what she needs to. She cultivates this power that can help them. And suddenly she's able to contact Hurdle and boom, she's back. So
at least with the Palpatine, I'm just gonna throw this out right now. At least there's precedence of what I think that they could build off of that. With Ahsoka, you're literally there. I mean, no one's done any kind.
Why not? All you got to do is have Hu Yang tell Ezra, "Oh, this is how she got back" in 30 seconds, and then it's fine.
He doesn't know. That's the thing. Like,
I'm being facetious, Paul.
I know.
Listen, it's freaking Filoni. It's Ahsoka. Like, until she's not there, I'm gonna believe she's.
There's gonna be an Ahsoka 2. There's either gonna be an Ahsoka 2 or there's gonna be a novel. One of those two things is gonna happen. It won't be a novel. I think you're right. I think it's gonna be Ahsoka season 2.
What I'm saying is, even if you waited to the last minute of the third movie, you're still gonna be pushing it because Filoni is gonna be right. Because I could see a thing where he's writing season 2 but not directing season 2.
Yeah,
like because obviously he only directed 2 episodes.
Right.
I mean, all he has to do is executive produce it, but he still has to be present. If he's gonna be directing a movie, that's a lot of prep, man. And let's be real, like these seasons, they're not like a traditional TV series out there, right? They take a lot of time to prep. Like it's like instead of a year, it's like 2 years. It's almost like a movie prep, right? So you're thinking about they haven't done anything for season 4 of Mando. That's got to set up the movie. They have to do season 2 of Ahsoka and prep this movie. You're telling me they're going to put all that together? It's like it's not going to happen.
It's all going to get pushed back.
It's going to push back. It's going to get pushed back.
Yeah.
You have Mando. Like there is so much story that's going to be told.
I'm going to tell you guys.
I don't think we even have a grasp of what's going to happen.
I think you're giving Lucasfilm almost too much credit because here's the problem. You're right to an extent, but Disney is bleeding money. They're trying to sell off ESP freaking N and ABC and Hulu. And what makes money? Star Wars makes money. Regardless of how people think about it, these movies, these release dates, they're gonna be hit in some ways. That's why this Rey movie is being fast tracked. That's why they're gonna push it at not 3 years, but a year, if that. You're not getting that much time. And the reason why it got delayed is basically because of the strikes. So to me, I just do not. That's the one thing I'm going to say. I could be wrong. I'll be wrong. I'll admit it. But
Disney's all about quantity over quality. Disney's all about quantity over quality, and it needs to be the other way around.
Well,
I would rather than I'd rather than pump the brakes for a couple of years and figure it out, and then go from there.
But Brian, the problem is they're bleeding money.
I know
they need these Star Wars films. So that's why I'm saying that's why it makes sense to me that you could culminate Mando and all that the whole universe and have a big battle between Mandalorians and Night Sisters. And you don't need Ahsoka in that movie. Mm-hmm. You don't need Ahsoka in that movie. And
just try telling
well, for sure. But what if Dave is like, cool? Like that's the thing. We don't know what Dave feels. Dave could be like, yeah, I love the fact that Ahsoka gets a whole series to her, so we can do this crap all day because this is amazing. Mm-hmm. And so we'll end on this and we'll call it a night. Either way, either if it comes before the movie, the culmination, whatever. The fact we're getting the Mortis gods basically teased, and in this is giant. I honestly did not think we're gonna get anything remotely like this, and I gotta tell you guys, I totally missed the boat that the father was pointing. And he was looking at a shining light. Yeah, the fact that was pretty goddamn awesome. I was like, wait a minute, he's pointing. Oh my god, that is, woo! I mean, woo! I have a lot to say. There's a lot to digest on this. Brian, what's your take on this? What did you do? What did you think?
I was dead wrong because I remember a few episodes back of this show. I remember saying, I don't think they're going to do the Mortis stuff again. I think that was all said and done. I said that on here. I was dead wrong. And honestly, I'm okay with it. I'm cool with it. At the time, I thought, that story didn't need to be told or anything, that mystery could be left. But now I want the story. Now that I know it's coming, I want it. And I'm all for it. And especially, with Ahsoka seeing Morai at the end of the episode.
Oh, yeah.
It was a huge... it was a lot of foreshadowing for what's coming. And I know there's theories all over the place right now about what Baylan is wanting to do and what it is he's looking for. And I'm like, it's just the theories are running rampant, and the word Abeloth's getting thrown around.
God, no.
I know. But Paul, I hate to say it. I hate to say it, man. I hate to say it, but it's all lining up with Abeloth, and I'm not even playing.
Paul, you should have heard my rant on Abeloth last week.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I'm good with the Abeloth thing. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's what it looks like it's pointing toward. It's either Abeloth. It's either Abeloth. He's either looking for Abeloth or he's looking to unseat, the father and to sit on the throne of balance on Mortis. Because he said in the first episode, second episode, there's this cycle of, the Sith ruling, Jedi ruling, the Republic, the Rebel Alliance, the Empire, now the New Republic. He said it's just cycles. It just goes over and over again. So I'm wondering if he's not going to try to literally, control the Force. You know what I'm saying? Actually be, the figurehead of it.
Tyler, really quickly. Wow.
I know there's a lot, man. There's a lot this could be.
We're going to do a whole month of stories about this. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to say this right now. I'm like that GIF from The Office where he's like, no. I hear Abeloth. That's what I think.
Toby is Abeloth. Yeah.
Yeah. No, hell no. Listen, I'm going to tell you this right now. This stuff is amazing. I can't wait to dissect this more and more and more. I will say this. I wish I had a better picture of this. I just have what we have the front. I think, honestly, this guy right here is probably a big reason why, maybe I think Hayden's going to come back for season 2 because I think this, people, I'm just going to throw this out there. I've been posting this on Twitter right now. This is, to me, this is what it feels like right now. And it feels like Anakin is the true balance right now. And maybe Baylan wants to be that balance, but he doesn't realize that Anakin is actually, that's who it is. And by extension, again, it's not one for one, but the fact that he's based, Ahsoka is essentially an offspring of Skywalker in a very unliteral sense, and the literal offspring of Anakin Skywalker. The legacy basically balancing it out of the Jedi and the Force through these two people is not to be undersold here. And I do think that that's where we're kind of headed. And I think Anakin plays a part of this because he is the father. And I think that's why he's on the planet. You can see him so visibly because it's strong on the Force, obviously. But I think he doesn't live there. But I think he is the new father. He is the new balance. Well, and giving balance to Ahsoka is a big example of that. That's why Morai is there. And that's why it makes sense that she is that. So anyway, Brian,
keep in mind also during Clone Wars, during that whole Mortis arc, Ahsoka essentially died.
Well, yeah,
and she basically is the daughter.
No, she is the daughter's life force.
Yeah. Yes. And so I'm not sure about the whole Luke thing. Ahsoka, I could definitely. I get where you're going with it though. Where you're going with it though. Because in Clone Wars, the father told Anakin, "I need somebody to replace me."
Exactly.
And that's what his role was. And the fact that he's in the dark robes, Anakin's actual Force ghost is in the dark robes. When in Return of the Jedi, he was in the cream-colored robes. I think it's a testament that Force ghost that we finally saw of Anakin, the actual true Anakin. I think that actually is the true Anakin. I think that's everything that he ever. I think he's reached peak existence, basically. That is everything that he's ever going to be. Everything he's done, said, everything he's done to everybody, everything he's committed, all the choices he made, everything. I think all of it And I think that's what he is now. That's the image of him now. He's wearing the dark robes. He's literally the chosen one. He is the one that is
right.
all sides of the Force, basically.
Tyler, really quickly, the only reason I think Luke makes a lot of sense is that the son represents, I think, failure, but yet there's still like forgiveness. There's that, and I think Luke has. I mean, to use a movie that I don't like very much, as much as the others, is like Last Jedi. I think the Last Jedi kind of goes. I think the Last Jedi kind of goes into a little bit of what I'm saying about the son. Like the Luke, he wants to kill the Jedi. What does the son want to do? He wants to destroy the Jedi and the Sith. He wants to it's not being evil and destroy it with whatever, but like Luke has a very negative connotation and like rejects it. And there is that sense there. I think that it's very fascinating. I think that Filoni is using here, and I would love for him to be using Last Jedi for good and actually make it better because it could use it. Tyler, any thoughts on this, and then we'll wrap it up.
All right. So I love you both, but I'm about to rain on the parade. All right. I'm here to, as the father should, bring balance back.
Here we go.
The world here.
Here we go.
I don't think that this is going to be this big thing that everyone thinks it is. I think that it will connect. Like there's going to be like, oh, the Mortis gods used to live here. There's going to be some Mortis ties. I don't understand the fascination of these characters becoming like.
I don't think they're going to be
Mortis
I don't think they're going to be the show, Tyler.
Even representing that. Okay,
they're not. Yeah, I
don't think Dave's doing that at all. Like I thought when I saw Anakin there after the Mortis gods, the furthest thing from my mind was, oh, he's taken the role of the father. So that to me was the furthest thing from my mind. He's not there because of some Mortis stuff going on. He's not there because of Baylan searching for Mortis. He's there because the one thing that he kind of got right in this whole mess of a life that he led was Ahsoka and how she turned out, largely because of his training in many respects. Okay. And he is there because he is seeing her off on the last lesson that he had to teach her. He's watching her become the, in a sense, Jedi master that she now is. And I think we see him look there. And if you notice, he's not like smiling at first. He kind of gives a little half smile at the end. But I think it's this moment of reflection, like thinking about all that has happened in his life and the pain that he has caused and that he has both felt. And he's looking at Ahsoka and he's like, I did it. Like I actually was able to do something that was really meaningful.
I 100% disagree with that.
And
I don't think it's all. I think it might be some of that, but there's no way.
I don't think that because they have included the Anakin and Ahsoka dynamic so much in this series. Okay. To me, putting Anakin in at the end as because it's the Mortis gods, it's the father, which was 3-episode arc.
I want to really push back on that a little bit. I don't think the Mortis stuff is. It's not. I'm not saying what like the Mortis father is literally in the show. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is that there's look at the consistencies, right? Look at what we've got the examples of in the history. What does the history tell us of Dave Filoni? Dave Filoni pulls deep cuts. He pulls things all over the place. He puts things in and says, and brings them back. He brings Mortis here and brings Anakin back and and what does he do? He brings balance to literally Ahsoka. That's what he literally does in this series. And that's what the whole role of Anakin was in the Mortis trilogy. It was again, it's not literally the
Mortis trilogy. It's 3 20-minute episodes.
Hold on. It is a metaphor for Anakin to bring balance, which is the whole basis of the frequent prequel trilogy. So you can't say it's like just not for nothing to put the father and what it represents. Like it does mean something. Dave is not it's not like just a friendly little nod. And that's the one thing that Dave has been very consistent on. He doesn't put things in just, every once in a while, maybe, but when he puts something in, it's very deliberate. That's why Morai stuck around. That's why she's there on the planet. Like it's not there just, why else is Morai in the world between worlds?
Morai's been following Ahsoka around for decades
she wasn't there. Yeah, but she wasn't there when she pulled her out. She didn't come through with Ahsoka. She was just there.
We saw Morai in the Mando episode, and
was she in the Mando? Was she in the
Mando
episode?
Mm-hmm. You see it from the back as the camera pans down. She's sitting in the tree.
Anakin was in. My feeling, I feel very strongly about, is Anakin's in that final scene because we have finally seen the full conclusion of Anakin's arc as a character. He was redeemed by his son.
I don't disagree with you.
Back to the light.
Coming back, baby.
His one last thing that he needed to do was give one final lesson to the one person that he felt like he did fully right by. And so Dave Filoni, you're right, does deep cuts. He does these deep cuts. But it's not just deep cuts over the plot of the story.
Yes, they do. Dude, what Ahsoka is completely a deep cut. It's a whole thing's a deep cut. Everyone complains it's a deep cut. That's everyone's major complaints.
No, it's unless you consider deep cut just being like highly integral to the story of Rebels, which I don't consider that a deep cut.
Yes, because
they're made a 4-season show.
But dude, like that's what I'm saying though. Like I just brought up the fact that the whole prequel trilogy is based upon Anakin being the chosen one, and like that's the whole. And then the Mortis gods is very much a. How about this? We're gonna put a pin in this. This is great conversation. I love this. We're gonna save this for a big debate later because I love this. Okay. So we gotta get out of here. I love this. This is great. We're gonna come back to this. Maybe we'll even do it the next time I'm on. I love Ahsoka. I think we all love Ahsoka. Obviously, Tyler hates Mortis, but it's very obvious. It's fine. No, I'm just kidding. Do you actually, really quick? Do you actually don't? I mean, this in all seriousness, do you actually not like the Mortis stuff, or do you like the Mortis stuff?
So I like the Mortis stuff. Fine. I just think that it gets hyped up way more because the concept is so cool. I think it gets hyped up, and it's such an easy thing to create fun theories off of.
That's fair.
So
that's fair.
I think that's where it comes from. So I don't think that it's
your Andor. It's my Andor. It's your Andor to my Andor, right? That's exactly what it is, right? That's exactly what it is. Everyone's like, "Oh, Andor, get the hell out of here with that Andor crap." Anyway, I love Andor, but it's overrated at this point. Sorry. Anyway, I digress. This is a fun night. This is went on too long. I'm sorry, guys.
That's fun.
Let's get out of here. So Brian, where can people find you? Talk about your stuff, man.
You guys can find me at the Star Wars Canon Podcast on my channel. Got a couple episodes out so far in the last few weeks. We just actually recorded this week's episode like an hour before we went live here. So my buddy Yusuf in Cairo joined me, and we knocked out it's our pretty long episode. We knocked out a 2-hour episode. So definitely check that out Saturday night, come 7 p.m. Central. Go vote on our villain bracket that we've got going on. And go check it out. Also check out StarWarsCanon.net. That's our official website. I'm still working on getting everything put together. There's a lot more canon than people realize there is, and trying to put it all in order and keep it, straight. That's a bit of a chore. So go check it out. I've even got the whole Legends timeline on there for those of you who are interested in that. So that's all there, and that's every film, every novel, every TV show, every comic book, everything. So it's all there, and it's all broken down by year. So go check it out.
That's cool.
Do it.
Yeah. Tyler, what about you, my friend? What's where we going here?
Yeah, I Type Bread 5. Oh my gosh, there's so much. I got a Kira book review coming out this next week. I got a High Republic comic that came out this week. I'll be reviewing that this week. I started reading Eye of Darkness this week. High Republic stuff. So all the book stuff going on out there. But man, I am really gonna miss having these episodes.
No kidding, man. These are so much fun.
It's so fun, and I love this kind of Star Wars. And I'm just gonna miss. It was just felt fitting that we got the classic Force theme hit, just like the one time kind of this episode, and hit there. And it's like a fitting send off. I'm excited for what's to come, and it was one of those episodes. It was like bittersweet because I was really excited, but I also was like, man, there's not much, on this story front for a while. But as always, at TypeRep5 on Twitter. Catch me there, and I got a lot of written content coming soon.
You do, and you're doing the Lord's work there, Tyler. You guys both are, and I gotta tell you, I really appreciate you guys coming on. We have. You guys are getting to know me better now too. You know, when I get animated, I hope you guys don't take it personally. I just get passionate and I love it. And I love the conversation we can get. And I do think, you know, even though you're right, it's sad we're losing Ahsoka. We got a lot to talk about and dissect. And I think the more to stuff there, I think just, you know, some of this, you know, what happened with Thrawn and Ezra and there's so much to dive into that we're gonna have a lot to talk about. Acolyte and Skeleton Crew will be going in the corner. Hopefully the actor strike will be done soon so we can get everything ready to go. And I love it. Everyone, I really appreciate everyone joining us. Go follow me on Twitter, X, or whatever the hell it's called, on at Herman22 with 2 N's, aka P Thug. Go please subscribe to the Comic Binge. Go check out tons of Star Wars material on there. I appreciate everyone who's already done that. I really appreciate everyone who's done it. Yeah, it's late. Gotta get out of here. So Brian, take us out, my friend.
Till next week, guys. May the Force be with you.